For years, building a Power App meant choosing between a Canvas application and a model-driven app. But there's a new type of Power App in town, and this one is all about the vibes. I'm going to unpack this new type of code application in Power Apps, see how we enable it, what it's used for, and how to build your first app. Now, what we're talking about here is a completely new type of Power App. It's really a reimagining of how we think about building Power Apps. And this is an example, a type of application that you can build with this new vibe-coded Power Apps code app experience. This is something that would be very difficult to replicate as far as the UI goes in a Canvas or model-driven application. And we're able to do this type of really custom UI in a Power Apps code application because it does use code behind the scenes. So what we're looking at is the preview of what the app itself will look like. But if I click on this button here where it says code, I can see that the backend is all TypeScript. And we have just so much more flexibility when we're working with TypeScript to be able to have those fine-tuned user interfaces. And it's the subtle things that matter here too from a user experience standpoint, like being able to launch this hamburger menu and see that subtle effect to be able to animate that opening. It's a very clean and modern user interface. We have this hover effect as we go over each of these items in the navigation, and modern looking forms that can even do things like file upload. Now let's backtrack and see how I actually created this. There's a brand new landing page to create these vibe-coded Power Apps, and that's vibe.powerapps.com. And that will take you to this experience here. Now this is 100% browser-based and it's all prompt-based. So you won't get that traditional Power Apps experience that you're used to where you drag and drop controls. You're going to have to get used to prompting your way through app building. There are a few suggestions down here to get you started if you just want to see what you can do with this, or of course, just describe what you want to build here in this text box. So I'm going to use a personal use case for something I actually want to build. So I want an application to manage my band. I'm going to ask this to help me build an application where I can track my band members and what instruments they play and their contact info. I want to be able to track the venues that we play, our upcoming gigs, the songs we play, set list, song lyrics, and all of that. So I could put in this prompt as is and run with it, but I want to point out one button here, and that's this, which will actually enhance your prompt. So if I click this, it's going to take what I put in, and as you see, add a lot more detail. Notice how it took my starter prompt, but added a lot more information that I didn't even think to include, like making sure to track the metadata of the songs, and allowing drag and drop arrangement of songs for quick access to lyrics. Those are the kind of details I need to make this app fully functional. Another thing to point out before we send this prompt in is we can even put in a prompt through voice. So we can start dictation and I can just have a natural conversation with this and put in my prompt that way as well. But now that we have our prompt and we think it's good, let's just send that in. And it's going to start vibe coding the app for us. Now what's going on behind the scenes is it's using that underlying Power Apps Plan Designer capability. So we've had Plan Designer for a while in Power Apps, and we've used that to help us create Canvas applications and model-driven apps and architect our Power Platform solutions. This is using that in the capability where, as you see, it's defining the user roles of who will be using this application, and it's going on and using the data model agent of Plan Designer to architect the Dataverse backend. So that is another thing to know about this type of application is it is going to be Dataverse backed. So we have our entity relationship diagram here. I can see everything that it set out for me as far as lists for the gigs and the band and all of that. And now it's calling a new code agent, which is actually vibe coding that front end for us. So we can sit here and watch in real time as it thinks through the process. So it has all the requirements and it's building out all of those pages for me. So it looks like I start seeing some bits and pieces show up of the app experience. So on the left-hand side, I have my band manager application. I already see that it got in the gigs, the songs, members, and venues, which is a good start. And if we look at the upper right-hand side here too, we can see who's involved in creating this app. So that's another cool thing is here's myself. I'm editing it because I put in the prompt, but it's that whole concept of we actually have a team of agents and myself working on this application. So we ran that requirements agent, which took my initial prompt and translating that into what needs to actually be built from a data model standpoint and a user experience standpoint. We have the data agent involved in this. We also have the solution agent and the code agent, which is running now. So it's myself and this whole team of agents working together to build this new Power App. All right, so it is still taking some time to build this. I'm gonna go away and I'll be back as soon as it's done. All right, I'm back and it looks like we have an app that is ready for us to review. So when we're working with these vibe coded apps, what we have here is a fully functional live preview of how this app is going to function. So we want to use this to be able to test our application and make sure it's working exactly as we expect. Because this is also our opportunity to make any changes we need to make to the app if something isn't working or if something is missing. So this is the full view of the application. We can click this split view button and see that view of the actual code it generated for us alongside the UI. This is good because it also kind of helps you test out the responsiveness of the app it generated. So notice how that left navigation went away when I expanded that out, and then we have a button instead. So we can see that this application that it generated automatically has some responsive design built in where I can show and hide that left navigation depending on the device size that I'm on. I'm going to go back to full screen here, and I'm actually going to close this chat. We can open it back up later so I can get a full screen look at this application it built. So quick glance, it looks like it created this dashboard page for us where I can see some tallies of the number of songs, venues, and upcoming gigs and band members. And it put in sample data so that we can properly test this application out. I have this nice view of all of our upcoming gigs and even some quick action buttons here to manage gigs, view members, browse songs, and explore venues. And also it looks like some information here about band members and our song library. So I'm going to go through and start clicking on all these and see what happens. So let's go to the view all on our upcoming gigs. So I built that dashboard. Now we have this other landing screen for the gigs themselves. Looks like we have the ability to filter on upcoming and past, which is nice. I like this tile view because it shows the gig name as well as the key details like when it is, what time, where it's at. And let's see, let's click on this jazz night. And this is a cool view because I guess this is how the mapping works between the gig itself and the set list that we're going to be playing for that gig. So I can edit and view all the details about the venue, even put in some notes, and then I can associate a set list from a list here. It looks like it can easily change that and add songs and even add a new set list directly from this gig view. So let's just test if this new set list works. We'll say acoustic solo. Great, there it is. And it looks like I can add songs. So we can see those relationships that that data model agent created for us kind of working here. So we have the gig that's associated with the set list, and the set list is associated with the song. Let's see, let's choose a few songs here. So that's looking good. So I'll add a couple. So it did add that ability where I can drag and drop to rearrange my set list, which is really nice. So it looks like we need to save that order. So let me save that. Let me go to this view lyrics, see what happens here. Nice, so this is the thing that the prompt helped me add when I click that enhance button. So if I'm in a gig, I can click on this view lyrics and it'll have all of my set list in order. And all I have to do is click next and see all of those lyrics here. Let's pop over to the songs tab and let's see what that looks like and test it out. Looks like it has a search button, which is great. So we can search, filter those out, and we can also filter by genre. So that all looks good. Let's test adding a new song. So here we go. I'll add my song that I wrote called Songbird out on Spotify if you want to listen. Let's do Shadow of a Siren is the band. This is a rock song and it's 3 minutes. Let's see if I can paste in all of my long lyrics. Okay, we found our first bug. This is exactly why we test. So it looks like when we put in some really long lyrics, it doesn't quite like that. So I'm going to see if it will help me fix this. I will admit, this is where it gets a little frustrating for people like me. I really am tempted to just wish I could go in and edit the code and just make this change and fix this myself. But we got to prompt our way out of it, like I said. But I'm going to ask it to fix the add song screen so it can accept long song lyrics. It's going off the screen and breaking the app, so I can't save. Let's see if it's able to take that and hopefully fix this bug that we identified on the screen here. So notice I put that in, so it's calling that code agent again. So it's going to take my prompt and it's going to try to figure out what it needs to do to fix that. So we can follow along again. We can see it's working on the request. So it's looking at the add song screen component and identifying the lyrics input issue. And we can see it said it found the issue in the songs index.txx file. The dialogue and text area needs scroll constraints. Wow. So we can see real time how it found the issue and it updated the UI for us with the fix. That is pretty cool. So we just gotta wait until it is completely done. You can see it's almost done there, applying all the fixes. And then that is one issue down. Hopefully there's not a lot more. It is going to refresh the screen when it does do some changes. So we have to go back into that add song, and we'll do this one more time. Moment of truth, we'll paste in those lyrics, and much better. Now we have scrolling and we can add that song in. All right, so we can see that it's added to the list. It looks like these are clickable. So there's the metadata that we put in. And if I click on this lyrics tab, there are all of my lyrics that got saved. So far so good. We found our first issue and fixed it through prompting. So let's keep on testing. Let's go to venues here. This looks good. We can search the venues. Let's go into one. I like that it has stats as far as capacity. That's nice. We can view gigs at the venue. Let's just, again, we'll go to add, and I'll add a venue here. This is a venue I play at a lot where I live. Put in the address and the capacity. And it looks like that worked well. Now let's test out band members. I like the filtering here on instruments and roles. We'll add a member here. So this is cool to know. So it is requiring an email address. So it does have some validation built in. Great, and that worked. So far so good. I think I'm liking everything that it really has here. Kind of does everything that I need. Now we could keep going back and forth with the prompting and adding more capability. We could even have it change the color scheme if we wanted to. Let's try one more thing just for fun. Let's see if we can get it to add the ability to switch between a light and a dark mode. So not necessarily fixing anything that's broke, but adding new capability to the solution here. So there's our friendly code agent assistant added again, working on a request. So it looks like it is going to add a theme provider for us to the app root to integrate that layout. And notice again, real time, we can see that update. So we have this dark mode, and now I see an icon popping up. So that's probably going to be our toggle. And let's see, let's toggle that. There we go, light, dark, or system setting, exactly what I wanted. But once you feel like it's in a good spot, the next thing you're going to do is save this. So we'll click this save button in the upper right hand corner. And you'll want to save early and save often if you're making any changes in here, because you never know when you put in a prompt and it might accidentally brick the application. So the more you save, the better. And while that's saving, another quick thing to point out here is we've been working in this app tab to see the preview of the user experience of the app. But if at any time as you're testing it and thinking that some of the data doesn't quite work or match up, you can always switch back and go to this data tab and see that underlying data model that it created for you. So we can do any editing that we need to here as far as making relationships that might be missing. We can view data, we can change properties, we can remove tables, and have that control over the data model itself here. And same thing with the plan. So we have this plan tab. So if we need to change things here, like maybe we don't need something in a user role or we thought of something new to add, you can always go back here to the plan tab and make any changes you need to as well. So now we've saved this, so the plan itself is saved and this preview of the application. Now if we want to start using this, we just need to publish. So there's this publish button right here in the upper right hand corner as well. And again, this is using Dataverse, so it's just confirming that this is going to build this all out in Dataverse for you, because right now this is all just kind of temporary in your plan. So once we hit publish, it's actually going to go create all of this for us. Once we publish it, we'll see this button light up here in the upper right hand corner where we can share this out. So right now this is only accessible to me, but I can fill in the names or the groups that I want to have access to this and share this out. So let me share this with one of my colleagues here, and then we can click this drop down button next to their name and we can modify security roles. So whether we want them to be a user or maybe a sysadmin, customizer, whatever role that might be, and we can share that out. And then they'll get an email letting them know that they have access to this new application. And then once we share it, we can copy the link and paste that here in a new tab, and we'll be able to actually use our new Vibe coded app. Now to see where the application actually lives, you'll go back to vibe.powerapps.com. And on the left-hand side, notice that we have a tab for plans. So this is where I can edit the actual plan that we created there for my Band Manager Hub. So I can share the plan, edit it, delete it. And then on the apps section is where I can see all of the applications that I vibe coded, including that Band Manager app. So I can also open this up directly from here as well. And if I need to make any changes, go through the same cycle again, prompt the change that I want to make, republish it, and then I'm good to go. So let me answer your burning question is, what is the licensing on this? Well, as you notice, it did create Dataverse tables for us. It will not create your data anywhere else except Dataverse when you use this. So what does that mean? You need some kind of Power Apps premium license to be able to use this. Now, the other question you probably have is, how do you access this? Well, first caveat is right now at the time of this video, this is in public preview. So this is not a GA feature. Now, hopefully it will be GA soon, but I wanted to put this video out now so you can start experimenting with it and getting used to vibe coding your apps. Because this is a public preview feature, you will need to do some setup to make sure that you can access it if you want to try it out today. The first thing you need to do is go to admin.powerplatform.com, go to the Manage tab, and go to your tenant settings. Check out this Copilot in Power Apps preview feature and make sure that's toggled to on. This also won't work in your default environments, so you'll want to go create a new environment, whether it's a developer or a sandbox environment. And I always suggest that that environment be in the early release cycle, just so that you have the latest features there. And you'll use that environment to build your vibe-coded Power Apps. The last thing to note is the region availability. Currently, this is only available in the US, Australia, Asia, and India regions. Again, hopefully that will all change soon as this gets closer to GA. So what about use cases? Why would you use vibe.powerapps.com to vibe code your code app versus just using GitHub Copilot or some other AI tool that allows you to vibe code apps? Well, the big thing to me is that you're in the Power Platform ecosystem already, and you get all of the benefits of that. You don't have to worry about where you're deploying your application and all the security layer and the governance. That's all built in because this is baked into the Power Platform. You have your data model already and don't have to worry about where to host your data. You know that it's secure. You know that it's in your tenant and that no one else outside your tenant can get to that. And it's an easy way to host and manage your applications. Now, to that same end, this isn't a tool that you would use to go build an app that you would put out on the public app store or public web. This is for internal to your tenant applications. But if you want those internal applications in your tenant and you want built-in security, not having to worry about where to deploy, how to manage your database and all of that, this is a really good tool for that. Now, one thing I do want to figure out about this long-term is if you can control what solution these vibe-coded apps go in, because best I can tell when you use vibe.powerapps.com, everything you build goes in the default solution in your environment, which isn't ideal. But it's always possible that maybe I missed a setting somewhere when I was setting this up to be able to choose that solution, or maybe it's coming soon, who knows, but something to be aware of as you test this out. So hopefully this showed some of the things that you can do with this new vibe.powerapps.com experience. Definitely go out and give it a try and let me know what you think.